My parents kept my true identity from me, and now I found out I am the inheritor to billions of dollars. My life now makes sense after understanding what those vague descriptions meant. Now, David and Linda's story makes a lot more sense. Given their exorbitant wealth, I have trouble believing that both of them were loving and hardworking people. Instead, turns out, with a forgotten life and plenty of money, both my parents are able to effortlessly provide the best for me. If a parent doesn't elaborate on their simpler times, what good would it do to their child? A child only cares if they feel a grip over them when being tossed into a void, which is exactly how I was raised. My school life revolved around making new friends and riding my bike, neither of which makes worrying about a life or death sort of situation make sense. If you aren't, we urge you to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on the best stories plastered across the internet and documentaries. Video essays have become so much more entertaining and life-changing, all with just the click of a button. Yet, as time passed, I began to see small details here and there that seemed off. For instance, there were no family photos from when they were young, no stories of childhood escapades, or even family get-togethers. They did not mention any grandparents or relatives, and we did not go anywhere for the holidays. I thought this meant they had poor relations or preferred isolation. After all, some people do not have an ideal family background. What I did not know was that the tapestry of concealment surrounding my existence started to loosen at the age of 21. It started with me wanting to go to the attic to look for some old books. While looking there, to my surprise, most of the items there being toy and Christmas decorations, were packed away in boxes. My attention was caught by a metal box with a lock as it was stashed away across the room. The key was not readily available, though. So my curiosity led me to checking cupboards, and much to my surprise, after finding the key, I started appreciating my father's desk a lot more. I opened the package and my hands shook. There were papers inside, faded photos, birth certificates, some legal documents, and an official letter which I couldn't place. My heart began to race as I sifted through them. The certificate didn't belong to me, or at the very least, not the one that I am used to. The document was stating that I was Julian Sinclair, instead of Julian Walker, which was the name that I had claimed all of my life. I was shocked at first, then discovered even deeper unsettling information. There were legal documents suggesting a custody arrangement that shifted my custody from a family named Sinclair alongside my parents, David and Linda Walker. Accompanying the documents was an old photo of a mansion with a Sinclair estate, captioned at the back. A shiver slowly went down my spine. Who were the Sinclairs? Why did my parents try to conceal my identity from me? A myriad of questions surfaced within my mind, and I felt a peculiar rush of excitement and fear. Grabbing the papers, I sprinted downstairs to give my parents a piece of my mind. They have always been truthful to me, or at least I believed so. But the moment I started asking them questions, they regarded each other in a manner I have never seen before. Guilt along with sorrow. Why did you lie to me? Who am I? I inquired with a broken shout. My mother's eyes welled with tears, and my father, with a heavy sigh, sunk to the chair almost as if the weight of the world was resting on his shoulders. We did it to protect you, she whispered. The silence that came after my mother spoke was drowning. I was there, waiting for them to explain while my heart raced. My father rubbed his temples like he was trying to gather the energy to talk. My dear son, we did not deceive you, began my father. All the strength in his body seemed to have dissipated as he spoke. We simply did not provide you the entire truth. The documents I had in hand seemed to burn with intensity. Then tell me now, I demanded. Who are the Sinclairs, and what is the reason behind you changing my name? My mother reached towards me, her shaking hands revealing her internal fears and trauma. The Sinclairs are your biological family, my mother said while releasing a soft sigh. You were born Julian Sinclair, heir to one of the wealthiest and most influential families in the country. An unprecedented wave crashed into me, leaving me devoid of answers. Then, why did you take me? Why did you conceal this information from me? With all the strength my father's body could muster, he leaned towards me with eyes full of pleading emotion. Because your life was at stake, he said. The Sinclair family, it is not solely about money. It also rests on the idea of power. There was a power struggle in the family, a dangerous one. When you were born, your biological parents had a lot of wealth which made them feel helpless for your safety. They set up a plan in which us adopting you and keeping you away from that world would help safeguard your life. And we did it. My mind raced. The context within my life completely spinned out of control with the mention of a possible hidden heir, solely because of the power and danger dynamics that came into play. At every junction of my life, I believed that nothing out of the ordinary would happen, But now there is the mention of being part of a secretive and rich empire. What is the meaning of this? So what? You want me to pretend as if I was never alive in the first place, and you renaming me is somehow normal? My mother wiped a tear from her cheek. This was the most difficult decision we had to make, Julian. We did it to protect you. The kind of power and violence that the Sinclairs possess is unimaginable. Had they known where you were, they would have used you as a pawn in their games. I looked and stared at them, feeling a cocktail of confusion, anger, and betrayal. But now they do know. They have to, or else what is the purpose of you telling me this? My father nodded, his demeanor stone. Yes, he said, relenting. There is some activity regarding you, and it's clear that someone from the Sinclair family has found out. They know you are alive, and they want you back. The weight of their words started to turn upon me. Everything I had envisioned my life to be was grossly different, and now it felt like the world I had been shut from was closing in on me. It was frightening. If my parents were right, I was entering an incredibly perilous realm where money and control surpassed the importance of family or love. Why would they pick me? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. My father's look was a blend of pity and determination. You are the one who can claim the Sinclair fortune, he said. But, more importantly, you are the figurehead of the Sinclair legacy. Whoever possesses you is able to claim legitimacy, dominion over the family's assets and power. Hence, they would go to extreme lengths to drag you back into their fold. But why now? I replied, a cocktail of anger and fear. Why now of all times? Because the family is ripping apart at the seams. My mother said, the patriarch, your grandfather, is on his deathbed. The family is chaotic, deciding who to place control over. They want you, Julian, because your lineage gives you a reality, a claim that none of them can even try to contest. My head raced with the enormity of it all. For 21, I had experienced a calm and mundane life, completely oblivious to the term that was waiting on the horizon. And now, I am being brought into the eye of that storm, not as a naive spectator, but as a crucial component. What shall we do? I asked, staring at my parents. My father's face hardened. We keep you safe, he said. We make sure that if you decide to face the Sinclairs, you do it on your terms, not theirs. But how? I spoke. I do not know anything regarding this world, for I do not even know who these people are. We have already taken some steps, my mother said. Oh, we have been preparing for this moment, in case it ever came. But Julian, understand me clearly, this is dangerous. My mother interrupted. If you step into this world, there's no going back. A chill ran down my spine, for my quiet life had been ripped away, and in its place was a new world blooming, filled with mystery, intimidation, and intrigue. But in addition to the fear, sprouts of curiosity, a drive, and a need to understand what lay beneath. A need to uncover the truth regarding my life and the family who had tried to keep me a secret. I want to know the truth, I said finally, my voice steady. I want to face them. The days that followed were a whirlwind of preparation. My parents, who had lived so cautiously and quietly for my entire life, revealed a network of contacts and resources they had kept hidden. They connected me with Marcus, a private investigator with a background in corporate espionage. Marcus had been keeping tabs on the Sinclair family for years, at my parents' behest, preparing for the day when this confrontation would become inevitable. We met in a dimly lit office where he told me the details, which were, to say the least, blunt. The Sinclair family is a dynasty, he spoke. They have wealth and powerful empires, political influence, and a large group of zealous followers willing to do anything to keep the family in power. But your grandfather, the patriarch, is in a dying state, and with him comes new factions are forming within the family. Your return is more than a matter that concerns your family. It is a matter regarding the balance of power within the family. So, what happens now? I asked, trying to keep the tremor out of my voice. Now, Marcus said, we put you out there, but on our terms. If the Sinclairs are trying to track you down, we need to control the narrative. They need to understand that you know who you are and, therefore, cannot be manipulated. My parents were not so sure about this and worried that coming with the reveal of my existence would complicate the matters even more. But Marcus was adamant that there was no other option. If they think they can control you through secrecy and leverage, they will, he cautioned. We need to level the playing field. And so it was done. Through carefully orchestrated channels, instructions were sent to the Sinclair estate that Julian Sinclair, the true bearer of the title, is alive and aware of his birthright. The response to that was immediate and disturbing. I soon got an invitation to meet with the family, acceptable on thick and beautifully embossed paper with the Sinclair crest. The envelope was addressed to my real name and signed off by my aunt, Victoria Sinclair. It was clearly a summons, not a request. I was to present myself at the Sinclair estate to discuss matters of great importance. My parents were frightened out of their wits. They begged me to stay away, to not come out, but I was resolute. I was never going to live the rest of my life in the dark, wondering about the family that left me. I needed to face them to understand what they wanted, and to win back my identity on my own terms. With Marcus at my side, I went forth to the meeting prepared, though it felt less like going into an assembly and more like going to battle. I was stepping into the lion's den, a place of power and wealth with family ties that only existed for the sake of playing control. I was ready for it. For better or worse, this is my legacy and I am ready to face it. Like something straight out of a film, the Sinclair estate was unlike anything else. An intricate mansion was complemented with expansive gardens which were attended with utmost care at all times. As we neared the estate, a set of towering iron gates opened, admitting Marcus and I inside whilst blocking my parents. My parents avoided coming due to the unnecessary escalation though it would bring, resulting in me only having Marcus as my escort. Upon our arrival, a butler met us at the entrance of the mansion with a set of doors to greet us, and without another word deemed it fit to lead us inside. The interior was astonishing, attended with crystal chandeliers and marble floors, while detailed portraits of my ancestors was hung all over the building. The entire place radiated with aristocracy and energy. We were directed towards a spacious sitting area in which several other individuals had already seated themselves. Those present spanned across a wide age range. However, the most notable for me was my Aunt Victoria Sinclair, whom Marcus had shown me pictures of. She was an elderly woman around 60 years old, decorated with an air of confidence coupled with sharp facial features, attending staggering amounts of control off her surroundings. Alongside Victoria was what appeared to be other relatives, drowning me in a sea of skeptical glares. "Julian," Victoria said with cold politeness, "welcome back to the family." At her words I felt as though I was being consumed by rage. Welcome back? It is as if I were on a long vacation instead of being secluded for my entire life. "I'm not here for pleasantries," I said, taking a deep breath to steady myself. "I'm here to understand why you hid me away for so long and what you want from me now." There was a flicker of surprise on Victoria's face, but it quickly turned into a smile. Straight to the point. "Very well. The reason you were hidden away is because your parents were worried for your safety, and, as you already know, they feared the power struggle that existed within this family would place you in danger. Were they right?" I probed. "Is it the reason that you brought me here now? So that then I could be used as a pawn in those same struggles?" Victoria narrowed her eyes, which slightly softened. "You are not a pawn, Julian. You are a Sinclair. Your existence in and of itself shifts the dynamics of this family. And with the passing of our patriarch, you now have a place among us. Julian, it is time for you to decide how our legacy will unfold." "So it's about power," I said, feeling a bitter taste fill my throat. "It appears that for you and your people, power is everything." "Power," Victoria responded with serenity, "is not a dirty word. It is a responsibility, a legacy. One that you are a part of, whether you cherish it or not." I sensed Marcus's hand on my shoulder as a reminder to be composed. "What if I want no part of this?" I asserted. "What if I simply decide to get up and go?" Victoria briskly stated, "You could." She did not look away. "But understand this, moving away he is not free. You, my dear, will be seen as a threat by others in this family. They will come for you, but to either control you or eliminate you. If you decide to walk away, be prepared to face the consequences." This was Sinclair legacy, a family who meant blood as much threat. Fear went down my spine, but I knew that walking away would entail spending the rest of my life watching my back and living in paranoia. I asked, trying to soften my voice, "Then what are my options?" Victoria's gaze was unflinching as she pinned me to my chair. "You join us," she said. "You accept your heritage, your place. You stand to gain allies within this family who will protect you and guide you. We together can build the future of the Sinclair Empire." The meeting dragged on for hours. Victoria and the other family members strategized on how best to bring this vision into reality, a vision that very much revolved around me, the Sinclair heir, assuming an eminent position in the hierarchy. The life of riches, power, and influence certainly sounded appealing, but I had to pay a price for it. My reality would consist of the life of a puppet, with strings of politics and a constant power struggle twisting over me. Meeting over, I felt utterly hollow inside. Marcus and I exited the mansion in silence. The decisions that awaited me in the coming days felt nihilistic in nature. My parents were waiting in alarm when I came home, and worry was written all over their faces. "They want me to join them," I said simply. "And what do you want?" my father asked me. Concern surprisingly more than he usually shows was palpable in his voice. Part of me wants to walk away, stand as far for them, and say nothing. But I know quite well that if I do decide to walk away, then there is slight chance that it will not let me go easily. "I don't know," I said. My mother grasped my hand. "Whatever you wish or decide to do, remember we will stand beside to support you." There was a tremor in her voice. "Just know this, you are not them. You are not defined by the wealth, nor the power. You are who you choose to be." Hearing that made me think more deeply about my life, and how I came to identify it with a single Julian Sinclair who is defined by money. Firstly, I, Julian Sinclair Walker, who is dearly loved, raised, and protected by my parents. That Walker name I identified the ambition and freedom I was able to pursue in life. My life was much more than the single name I possessed. For me, the following weeks was going to be tough because I knew I sincerely wanted to meet and spend time with Walker family to fully understand the empire, business, and power they controlled. But subsequently, I had to witness the darker side of the family with hints of greed, manipulation, and complete ruthlessness further confirming towards their legacy. Ultimately, I came to a resolution. I decided that I would recognize my roots and thus step into the world of the Sinclairs, but on my own terms. I would not allow myself to be a pawn in their games. I set forth conditions: the need for transparency, boundaries, and the support of trusted people such as Marcus. I was willing to engage with the Sinclair legacy, but not allow me to be completely absorbed. The response to my choice from the family was varied. Some viewed it as a power claim, a show of my intention to seize my position within the family. There were those who viewed it through a more skeptical lens, who questioned my motives along with my independence. However, I knew that it did not matter. I had made my decision and was willing to accept anything that followed. It was like walking a tightrope when I decided to go into the world of the Sinclairs. There was no room for errors as I needed to stay on alert all the time, understand the relationships that were active fully, and be ready to take a stand. I adapted quickly to the family's politics while being true to myself and my values. With the passage of time, I started forming my own goal. I started participating in the family business and used my position to help pivot its ethical practices. The goal was achieved only with extreme persistence. I faced challenges at every step, but in the end, I was able to shift the legacy I had received. My parents continued to be my support family at the time, reminding me of my principles. They had masked my identity in order to save me, and now I was using that identity to sculpt a future that resonated with my goals. The path ahead was unclear and full of hurdles, but it was a path I have always wanted to follow. When put together, I was more than simply the successor to billions. Something deeper flowed in my essence. I was Julian where an opportunity had been presented to me such that I can claim the destiny set out for me, face the darkness that lingers within my past, and craft a legacy that can be rightfully said to be mine.